Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 305, Why Most Employees Quit. So here we are, the dawn of a new year, and in the lead up to the festive break, so many of my introverted clients and colleagues were feeling distinctly end of termish and end of yearish. Some even reported feeling very end of jobish, which is a surprisingly common feeling at both ends of the year actually. I'm reliably informed that this is the culmination of a hard year with decreasing job satisfaction, a long overdue break reminding them of what life beyond the workplace can be, and a certain sense of dread when they think about returning to the office with another year of the same stretching out ahead of them. I wonder how many of you can relate to that. And I wonder how many of you made New Year's resolutions to find a new job or at least change what you're doing in 2026. A surprising number of those I work with have shared that they're even considering jacking their job in, and that's without a new job to go to. I think you'll agree that for many, this is a pretty drastic step. So it got me pondering, what is it that has people take a step like this? A 2025 LinkedIn article based on research from PwC revealed that 20% of employees had considered leaving their role in the past year, and that rose to 25% of those aged 18 to 24. Part of me really applauds those youngsters who make their decisions fairly quickly about whether a role, job, or organisation is right for them. In my experience, the older I got, the more difficult it felt because it seemed I had more to lose. But how true is that, really? Well, it may surprise you to know that it's not all about the money. That same research said that it was about purpose, agency, and leadership. Specific reasons cite no clear career plan, toxic or weak leadership, lack of flexibility, poor job design, and mental overload. Anyone surprised? I'm not. And in fact, on the day of recording this episode, this little gem popped into my newsfeed. Boss tells employee they lack passion for not answering Slack messages at 10 p.m, and they were not contracted to work evenings. So one of the big questions I'm left with is why are organisations still getting this so wrong? The thing I do want to address here is that the reason many of us are told that people quit is actually so very far from the truth. The reason often given is that people were work shy, so they couldn't take the pace, and fundamentally they lacked the resilience needed to be successful in today's workplace. Well, not quite. That may be the preferred corporate spin, but a quick survey reveals that most people don't quit because they lack resilience. In fact, if anything, their resilience has been stretched beyond acceptable limits. What might be true is that they potentially lack the type of resilience that their boss or business expects. I'm talking about the type of resilience where you're expected to take all the pressure anyone throws at you, tough it out, and then bounce back as though it were the norm. I've spoken about unrealistic expectations regarding resilience a few times, and it's why wholesome resilience features in the Flourishing Introvert playbook. And let me be clear, expecting that type of resilience is unacceptable and inhumane in today's business world. And I don't care what the broligarchy say. So if it's not a lack of resilience, what is it? Most introverted employees who quit with no job to go to do so because of unkindness, and that often takes the form of a workplace that doesn't understand or factor in their needs. Just think back to those bullet points I mentioned earlier to see the link. Introverted employees are immersed in noisy busyness, unrealistic urgency, unclear expectations, and shallow, almost laughable collaboration. Now, let me be clear. No matter how it's presented to you, this is not about individual weakness. That's just more unkindness. It's a systemic organisational design that rewards loudness and speed whilst sidelining clarity, reflection, and psychological safety. So if you've ever struggled in environments like that and have considered walking away, please let go of any sense of shame or guilt you felt at the time. It's helpful to remind yourself that it's actually normal to struggle in environments that were never shaped for your strengths, temperaments, or preferences. And when we do experience that struggle, it's clear that we're in the grip of the extroversion bias, which I've unpacked on numerous occasions. The bias that exists in workplaces and teams that still operate on the outdated belief that visibility equals value, that dominating conversations equals leadership, that quick reactions equal competence. In the midst of these outdated beliefs, we have a number of choices. Go with it as best we can, try to be someone we're not in order to fit in, or rock the boat. I tried the first two, going with it and pretending, for far too many years, and whilst I had some success with both, it was at the expense of my health and well-being, and the cost was too high for me to recommend it to you as a strategy. In fact, it caused me to quit 2 organisations. The first I quit after 19 years of loyal service because I knew I was compromising my values. And the second I left after just a few years because I hit burnout as a result of compromising who I was. And for me, those 2 reasons made my position untenable. The expectations were that I, like anyone else, I nearly said any normal person because that's kind of how it was presented to me, but I would thrive working in an environment where the noise never stopped, where poorly run meetings felt like verbal wrestling matches, where delegation seemed more like dump and run, where speed was everything but accuracy and clarity were overlooked, where psychological safety was implied but not co-created or modelled. How was I supposed to thrive in that kind of environment? Well, in short, I didn't. My confidence took a nosedive, my self-esteem hit rock bottom, and my energy was nowhere to be found. So I was hardly the model employee at that point. I was in survival mode, second-guessing my actions, wary of saying or doing the wrong thing, and exhausted beyond belief. So whilst I made the right choice for me on both occasions, I have to admit it was pretty drastic. And I realised that not everyone can quit when things get too difficult to bear. I actually talked about that in episode 294. All of these feelings are valid data points about the culture and climate of where I was working, but it was all too easy to assume that it was about me and my value or worth, which is exactly what I did assume. I assumed I wasn't as good as those around me who seemed to thrive under chaotic leadership and too much pressure. I told myself I needed to be more resilient, just like them. So you can probably imagine what a blow that was to my already diminishing self-worth, self-esteem and self-confidence, can't you? I do wonder how many of you have just felt a nudge of recognition. At no point did my recently discovered sassy pirate self stand up and say, "This is not right. Can't you see what you're doing to people?" And that's partly because my sassy pirate self has only emerged in the last few years. Oh, how I wish I'd gone looking for her earlier. I think she could have made quite an impact on those places where I was working. After all, thriving requires environments where calm, depth, clarity and respect are valued as much, if not more, than the performance metrics or optics. So if quitting is not an option, that leaves rocking the boat. I admit this can sound pretty scary, but honestly, it's the best thing to do if quitting isn't an option. Ready for some boat rocking? Well, before you get too serious, in my opinion, this is best done assuming you're wearing your pirate hat and humming yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. Get the picture? Very much like the pirates of old, rocking the boat is not about fixing all of the problems in your organisation. It's about doing what you can to make your life better, which will also have a positive knock-on effect on others. So allow me to present a few simple strategies to start the boat rocking. These options are all designed to make your current workplace work better for you. And remember, nothing changes until we do something different. And these points intentionally go some way to addressing the reasons people leave. If leadership won't take the lead, even if that's what they're paid to do, step forward so you can be even a small part of that shift. Number 1, advocate for clarity in requests and expectations. This improves things for everyone, and it's important you model this for yourself. Number 2, establish boundaries around communication so your brain can rest and process. Whatever is possible in your environment, do it. Number 3, request asynchronous options to allow for considered responses. This obviously improves the quality of output and may well reduce the need for reworking. Number 4, notice what is going on so you can use that insight to influence how collaboration happens. Maybe the preparation needs to be more thorough and inclusivity improved. And finally, number 5, identify and foster environments that actively energize introverts rather than those that are merely less harmful. Ask what people need and be prepared to be a spokesperson. So there are 5 of the many ways to make the workplace better so fewer people want to leave. Will it stop people leaving entirely? Probably not, but it'll make the place a whole lot more bearable for you and those around you. And isn't that the primary reason to change things? So we have a more enriching experience when we're at work doing what we're doing in order to live our lives. I can sit back, begrudging how things are, or I can use my personal agency and take whatever small steps I can so I satisfy my need for autonomy. And that's the flourishing introvert way. Remember, your need for calm, clarity and genuine respect is not indulgent. It's fundamental to keeping your brilliance dialed up and available. You're not too sensitive. The culture is too loud, too fast and too careless with human nervous systems. But we have the power to make small changes around us. Now the big question then is, what is for you to do? Firstly, pay attention so you notice and recognise any patterns that point to cultural misalignment. Then shift to really noticing how you are feeling. When you're exhausted, depleted or frustrated, is it situational or systemic? Both require different solutions, so take your time to establish the best course of action. It may be do nothing in the immediate moment whilst you plan and prepare your course of action. Responding mindfully is always better than hastily reacting after all. And the important thing to realise is that once you can see the problem clearly, you're better placed to make an informed decision about your first step towards either influencing change or making a healthy exit. What's the old saying? Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. Some of us think we have little to no control or influence over our life situations. I choose to believe that we have much more control and influence than we realise, which means we need to be brave enough to look the challenges square in the eye, with a metaphorical pirate hat on if that helps, and say, enough, this has to change. And I'm the one to start the ball rolling so that we rock this particular boat. To get yourself ready, I recommend that this week you give yourself permission to tune into you and pay attention to how you're really feeling. Reflect on what drains and what nourishes you at work. Name it without judgment, and then make a workable plan. Know that I'm right there with you as you take action, and just think about the other, quieter ones who will appreciate you taking the lead. What better way to start the new year? And of course, we start as we mean to go on. Trite, but true. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.